Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lucy Gray, and I'd like to welcome you to this preview for the GLOW conference. GLOW stands for Global Learning for an Open World, and this is the second year we've hosted the conference in Hopin. Previously, it was known as the Global Education Conference and the Global Education Conference Network. And we're excited to have you here, hopefully watching today or watching the recording. If you are here live right now, there is a chat where you can add your comments and questions. I encourage you to do so, and also tell us who you are, what your role is, and where you're from. If you feel comfortable, we'd love to see who's in the audience today. For the information about the conference that I'm going to go over, you can also find it at linktree/actionableinfo. You can see the link in our slides right here. And I will also post it in the comments once again, in case anybody wants to click on there and see the slides and flyer and partner information that I'm going to discuss today. So you can find it at linktree/actionableinfo. Without further ado, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started because I have a lot to cover. And I'm really excited to share this with you because this is my favorite thing to do, is to organize this conference and to see people come together from all over the world to promote innovative teaching and learning in a global context. So let's get this show on the road. If you are here, please make sure that you say hello in the chat. I'll try to answer questions at the end, so you can put them in the chat and I'll address them once I'm done with my presentation. But that's where we're going right now. And there's Arnd. Hi, Arnd. Glad to see you here. Arnd is in Scotland, so that's great to see you. Must be a little bit late there. Anyway, here's our agenda for today. I want to show you how to participate as an attendee. And there's Julie. Hi, Julie from Maine. I am going to show you how to participate as an attendee, as a presenter, as a volunteer, as a media partner, or as a benefactor, and tell you a little bit about how you can help as well to get the word out about this collaborative event. I also want to introduce you to some of our keynotes. There are more coming, but these are a few names here that I will go into a little bit later in this webinar. So here's our story. We used to be called the Global Education Network. We rebranded as Actionable Innovations Global about 2 years ago now, maybe. And we've been hosting webinars and online events for educators because we believe in global collaboration and making opportunities available to everyone. And Actionable Innovations Global recently hosted an AI and education conference that went really well. We've hosted an Ed Camp for the NEA Foundation last spring. Plus, we've hosted GLOW and numerous webinars featuring innovative people from all over the world. Our most recent one was featuring the Vice President of Research and Innovation at Landmark College, where my kids go to school or have gone to school. And you can find that in our Medium blog, which is linked in the link that you see below. If you want to see the transcript or watch the video. It was a really great conversation. So we do a number of things to try to bring people together, particularly in light of the pandemic. And let's illuminate education again. Let's get everybody feeling good about learning in the world is kind of our goal, I guess. So we connect and empower education-focused professionals worldwide through international professional learning and networking opportunities. Our aim is to change the world by providing meaningful and impactful learning experiences for all learners in support of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So that's kind of our formal reason for being. Last year at GLOW, this is a lot of text here, but we had nearly 2,000 participants from 97 countries. We had 180 speakers with 145 sessions featured. We had about 12 partner organizations and 20 plus volunteers who helped moderate sessions. And you can see the long list of countries that participated last year. We'd like to see that grow this year and include even more. I always get excited about seeing the number of participants from countries and that sort of thing. And I think it helps us feel like we're, I don't know, part of the world when we're engaging with the world. So that's a little bit about last year's conference. This year's conference is going to take place during International Education Week, November 13th and 14th, which is a Monday and Tuesday. And we're going to start at noon my time in Chicago, Central Time, with an opening keynote from Veronica Boinks-Mencia of Harvard. She's been pivotal in the global competence movement. And I know that you're going to love, and she has a book that she recently co-authored that I think she'll tell us about on global competence. And she's just a lovely human being. So she's going to kick us off at noon Chicago time on November 13th. And we're going to go all the way until 6 o'clock on November 14th. So it's going to be around the clock. I may not be up all that time, but hopefully there'll be people around helping to moderate during those early morning hours in US time zones. But we're going to go to 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. And the conference will be open a couple hours after that for people to keep looking at recordings and networking and that sort of thing. So it's meant to be a 24-hour kind of thing, a little bit more than that, so that we can accommodate time zones and everybody can present at a time that is comfortable for them. The other thing that you need to know about GLOW is that we're a very inclusive conference. We do have, relatively elite speakers who are keynotes and that sort of thing, but we want everybody to have the opportunity to share what they know and what they're passionate about in relation to global education and educational innovation. So as long as you present something that's coherent as a proposal, for the most part, we're happy to have you and want you to be part of this event. That's, I think, the magic of the previous version of this and of GLOW has been that we have people from all over the world contributing on their own terms what they're passionate about. And this is how relationships start too, so that you can do global projects. Our events historically have been great places for people to get to know each other and to design projects that will benefit students and that sort of thing. So we want this also to be a really strong networking event for you so that you grow your global professional learning network. We want to help you expand your horizons in that way and meet people that will be beneficial to your work and to your students along the way. So it's a little bit about GLOW 2023. We have some changes. If you were part of GLOW 2022, we have upgraded our platform. We are using the platform called Hopin, and that allows us now to have 5 stages as opposed to 1 stage. I don't know if we'll have all 5 running at once, but we have 2 different kinds of rooms in Hopin. One are stages, which are the technology is StreamYard behind that, running that. And then we have session rooms, which are more like Zoom conference rooms. And our featured speakers and keynotes will be on stages. Everyone else will be in sessions, but we have more of these stages, which is pretty exciting. And if you've ever used StreamYard, it's a really nice interface and very professional looking. That's what I'm using right now for this webinar. And we really like how StreamYard is integrated into Hopin. So that's one thing that's new. There is also the ability for attendees to create their own sessions in an unconference format, and we're going to experiment with that a little bit. Not sure how that's going to look yet quite yet. And this year, we're also going to have dedicated time for people to go visit our virtual exhibit booths, our expo booths from our partners. And that means that there won't be any other sessions going on at that time. We want people to go in and meet the people who are supporting the conference. So we have that time built in 2 hours, one on the first day, one on the second day. And those benefactors who are supporting the conference can also build their own booths. They don't have to have me do it like I did last year. And that's kind of exciting too. It's a nice feature to have. And then one thing that we've changed too is also our model for how we support this conference. And nonprofits and individuals can submit as many proposals as they want, whether they're a benefactor or not. We would like nonprofits and schools to help support the conference. And for-profit companies need to be benefactors in order to present. And I'll go into this in a little bit more detail. More importantly, we've taken inspiration from a group that we've worked with called the Charter for Compassion, which offers courses and that sort of thing. And they have a pay what you can model. And so we're adopting something similar to that. And we want this to be accessible to people. We don't want financial situations to be a barrier. So when you register, we're asking you to either register for a free ticket or a volunteer ticket, or pay if you can afford to. So there's rates for individuals and there are rates for organizations, and I'll get into that in a minute. But we're moving towards this pay what you can model because there are expenses that are involved with this conference. We pay for StreamYard. I pay for StreamYard. I pay for Hopin, and it's not cheap. Let's just put it that way. And so it's people's time, it's energy, it's publicity materials, it's putting things together for people. We have no magic benefactor. We have no, funder behind the scenes that is supporting this other than me. So that's why we have a pay what you can model. And we hope that you'll support us because you believe in the work that we're doing and that you want to keep this event as free as possible for educators. We really think that's important. So I don't want to talk too much about that, but that's what we're doing. Here's just a little recap of what I just said. We want to keep this free and accessible. There are costs involved, and we hope that people with the means will support us. So the ticket levels are, and this is a lot of detail to see on a small screen, but we have free, volunteer, contributor, supporter, and patron levels for individuals. And the volunteer level I want to talk a little bit about, because that is if you can donate 3 hours of your time to moderate sessions and that sort of thing, in return we'll give you basically the same level as a supporter level ticket. And so that's our plan. This is our structure. So if you can't afford things, register for free. If you can afford a little bit, register for the contributor ticket. If you want to volunteer, register for the volunteer ticket. These are ways that you can help support the conference and make it possible for us to keep it free for everyone. For organizations, we have 4 levels. One is media partnership, which doesn't cost anything. If you help us get the word out, we will say thank you and have your logo on our website and that sort of thing. If you want more publicity for your entity and want to support the conference, there are 3 other levels for you to do that. And somebody asked me when they registered what the difference was between some of these levels, and I'll go into that in a second. But I just want to kind of give you a brief overview. Some of the benefits are, for being a benefactor, is featured sessions on our event stages, recognition in our conference materials, which means in emails, on our website, et cetera, et cetera. You get your own booth. The booth sizes are dependent on different levels, and that means the logo for the booth is either small, medium, or large. We'll also give you video copies of your presentations and promo codes for tickets for your employees or whoever you want to give them to. Sorry, I'm talking too much and need to take a sip of water. And there's also some networking features that are available to people who have the higher level ticket levels. So this is kind of a nutshell what some of the benefits are. If you are considering being a benefactor and supporting us, we'd love to have your information by November 1st. And once you register on our site as one of these benefactors, then I'll send you information about getting your sessions together and putting them up on the website and helping you schedule those time slots. Somebody else also asked me if in submitting questions for this webinar, if benefactors get guaranteed time slots. It depends on when you register. So the earlier you register for everyone, the better time slot, the more ideal time slot you're going to get. So for example, for presenters right now, we have about 10, 12 people who have submitted proposals and been accepted. They once they're accepted, I give them a link to a calendar where they book their own time. There's certain slots that are open at certain hours. And so early applicants get access to that calendar earlier and can book at the time that they want. The schedule may become more full as we get closer to November 1st. So for presenters, you want to register early. You want to get your proposal in early so you get the time that you want. If the schedule gets full, I can always add sessions, but basically there's 3 sessions per hour right now, and I want to fill that calendar as much, or that schedule, as much as possible before I add additional sessions. For benefactors, there's going to be basically, we have a lot of flexibility with when we schedule you. So I will work with you if you are a benefactor to figure out the best time for you, and we can schedule you accordingly. So just keep in mind that there's a lot of flexibility with that for benefactors. Attendees, if you want to come to the conference, the best thing you need to do, the best tip I can give you is that you need to use Chrome. We have not had a lot of people with technical issues in general from other countries where there might be some bandwidth challenges and that sort of thing. It's been a pretty steady platform hop in. And so you just need to register basically. And we will send you a link where you can test your computer and that sort of thing to make sure that it's working, that your audio and video and everything is in play. We recommend that you register at the level that you're comfortable with. If you are registering for the free ticket, just be aware that the networking tools and recordings are not going to be available to you after the conference. So that's one of the detractions from that. We will have conference attendance certificates for those who are at the paid levels, and everyone will have access to the keynotes on an ongoing basis in our YouTube channel. We always make the keynotes public and always will be, available with a Creative Commons license. So just be aware of that. For volunteering, and this is a really good way to meet people and to add to your global PLN, we will have a volunteer lounge where volunteers can hang out, or a help lounge where volunteers can help people. And you need to register for a volunteer ticket. There's a limited quantity to these. And we'd like you to volunteer for a minimum of 3 hours over those 2 days if you can. And those duties will include moderating sessions and staffing that help lounge. You will have access to recordings, and you'll also get a certificate for volunteering if you'd like. So that's our volunteers have always been just amazing in troubleshooting, in helping people that have technical issues, and kind of serving as kind of a person that can kind of paste links into the chat and that sort of thing for people. We really, really, really appreciate and depend on our volunteers. I particularly need a volunteer that can kind of oversee a lot of this in the late US hours. So from like 10 p.m. Central Time in Chicago till about 6 in the morning. Usually we have somebody from Australia who will volunteer. So I'm hoping somebody will come forward and serve as a super moderator to keep things going overnight. Presenters. I am so excited about this year's sessions already. We've had a few put in from our Fulbright and NEA Foundation Fellows so far, and other people too. We have a presentation from Kuwait, and we have a presentation from Argentina, and there are more that are there. And I've put them into the schedule, and I still have one to approve right now that's in queue. But we're looking, the sooner that you get your proposal in, the better. And that way we can get you scheduled and get you, get everything set. So remember, our deadline is November 1st. In October, we'll start doing some training sessions. They will be recorded if you can't attend them, so don't worry about them. Um, and this is kind of the basic stuff I've already told you, and I'll keep moving on. So tips for your proposals. A couple things that I've noticed. You may want to open up a Google Doc or something like that and write out what you plan to submit. You want to proofread your proposal before submitting it. Spelling and grammar count. Um, but it's not the end of the world because we know everybody is not necessarily a native English speaker and that sort of thing. But if you could take some care with that, it would be greatly appreciated. It's better if you write your proposal in the third person, saying, in this, for example, in this session, participants will be able to learn about the SDGs and how they can apply them to lessons in their classroom. A sentence like that, as opposed to, I will teach everyone to use the SDGs in their lesson planning. It just sounds a little bit more professional when you're using third person. It's not something that I'm going to reject if you do use the word I, but I would like to make this as professional as possible. What you write is going into the program. I'm not going to do a lot of super editing to your proposal. So you want to put forth how you want to sound. And in terms of length, you don't have to make it super long that you would for a more formal conference, but you do want it to be detailed enough because, think about how you're attracting people to your session. And when you're detailed and specific, then people know what to expect and whether it's going to be a good fit for them. So make sure that you are, that you're detailed. And if you want to do polls or other interactivities during your session, you're more than welcome to do that. I think there's a polling tool in Hopin. And we always encourage other sessions in other languages. And Christina is going to be organizing a Spanish track again this year for those of you who may have participated in that last year. She did a phenomenal job. And I believe a lot of the speakers were from the Global Education Group, the Google Education Group from South America, and they were phenomenal. So that will be coming. More information will be coming about that as we get going here. But just be aware that there will definitely be a Spanish track for sure, but other languages are also welcome. And if somebody wants to coordinate another track in another language, we'd love to have that. So that's some more. Here's some more tips. If you want to do a panel with a bunch of people, that's great. If you want to present with students, awesome. We love students. I don't know if you guys remember the global internet field trip people from last year and the kids that presented. They were amazing. They were a keynote. Or if you want to host something that's a birds of a feather session, like, primary teachers looking to do project-based learning, or, math teachers looking to do global collaboration, feel free to propose a session that's just a meetup. That's totally fine. So be creative with the formats, so that and think about how you can engage people virtually in meaningful ways. Then the other piece of this that's new to our conference, and it was new last year, is we want, and this is hard for people to get their minds around a little bit, so I want to spend some time on it. In your proposal form, there is a section for providing actionable advice. If you're talking about a project that you've implemented in your classroom, for example, what is the advice that you would give to someone who wanted to replicate that somehow? And it could be, look at PBL works for examples of global projects, or go to this conference, or read this book, or this article was helpful to me, or connect with me if you want to collaborate on a project. If you have a call to action and want people to collaborate with you on something, that actionable advice that can go into the actionable advice section of the proposal. So we want you to offer people some takeaway of something that they can do to replicate or take parts of your work and do something with it. So that's what we're looking for in with actionable advice. The better written your proposal is in general, the more likely attendees are going to gravitate towards your session. So just kind of keep that in mind. I think that one thing we need to talk about is AI. Their chat GPT is one way that people can generate content. I use it quite a bit now. I find it to be helpful when I write something and then I put it into chat GPT and I polish it up a little bit. And that's totally fine for this conference, but make sure that it's your ideas, your structure, your what you intend. Don't just let chat GPT do all the work. Create something yourself first and maybe have chat GPT polish it afterwards. Because I want to make sure that you may come up with a really fancy proposal, but let's have our proposals match what the session's actually going to be. So let's just, the human factor is still important here. And we want you to make sure that that proposal matches what you intend. The last thing I'll say in terms of the proposals is this is not a general education conference. We would like it to be tied to some sort of global aspect. It's not required, but we would like it. We would like it to be about innovation somehow, but it doesn't have to be. But we want, this is not just about teaching math or teaching reading. It's about doing things differently and connecting with others in the world. And so if you can bring any kind of aspect to your session that is collaborative, that has a global aspect to it, it would be appreciated. It's generally not just about specific subject areas, but it's about subject areas in that global context, in that innovative context. So hopefully that will give you a little bit more guidance on that. Here are some examples of sessions from previous years that kind of illustrate this. Like, for instance, there was an AI and classroom dynamics one last year. Some of these can be ed tech oriented too. If you're a big technology person like I am, you may want to talk about how technology is facilitating virtual exchange or something like that. But these are some examples of some titles that may be helpful. We'd also like to see some youth oriented sessions that, like, for example, I'm thinking about this one here on micro grants that was from Taking It Global last year. They've had micro grants that they've given to students in Canada to do projects in their communities. That's the kind of stuff we want to see too. So anything that's going to inspire people and move them forward globally in an innovative way is good for this conference. And it's up to you to figure out what that means to you. So partners / benefactors. Here's a little bit about where we want. I think some of this I've already talked about. I'm not going to spend a lot more time on this, but if you want to talk to me individually about it, I'm happy to schedule a meeting and can go through things. I can also share with you, there's an overview. Actually, I can get it right now. I don't think I have it in our main link. There is an overview. Sorry, I am going to put it in the chat right now. Sorry, I'm losing my place here. This is a little bit more about the partnership aspects of things. I put the document in the chat, and you can take a look at that. And if you want to schedule a meeting with me, I can go over that with you as well. For everyone, we'd like you to help by registering as a volunteer, submitting a proposal, and/or sharing information on social media. Our hashtag is GlowEDU. And there's a flyer that is also in this Linktree link. And I will put it also, whoops, I'm going to go back. Whoops. bit.ly/glow flyer. And you can, actually here, I have it here. Let me grab the link. And you can send this, and it also it's translatable. It's kind of cool. I'm using Some More is the service that I use for the flyer. and there's a button at the top that allows you to translate it. And I don't know how well it works for translating, but you can try it. If you can share that with friends, colleagues, your networks, we would greatly appreciate it. This is really a collaborative event. And then finally, before we get to Q&A, I want to tell you a little bit about our keynotes that we've just announced. Bonnie Koenig is actually the mother of two of my former students at the University of Chicago Lab Schools. She's an international she's an international consultant who works with organizations who want to go global. And she's written a book, which I have right here, called Going Global for the Greater Good. And she's going to be presenting at 3:00 on the 13th. Marla Hunter is a DEI expert who's worked in international schools. She was recommended by our friend Kevin Simpson. We're excited to have her here, and she's presenting at 6:00 Central Time on November 13th. Matt Nink is a longtime friend of our conference. He's run his own nonprofit that does global work and now works as the National Partnerships Director for Sky Schools and the International Association for Human Values. And he's going to be doing a really practical, hands-on, breath work-oriented keynote for us on, I'm blanking on what day. I think it's the 14th at 9 a.m. Central. And he's a really great guy. I think you'd be interested in his work. Everybody here is just amazing. And then last year we were supposed to have Shane Swift and her co-founder of Girls Global Academy present, and they had a car accident at the time. So they're coming back now, healthy and hale, and will be presenting as well. It's 6:00 on the 14th, I believe. I have to double check on that one. But those are the ones that we have scheduled right now. But we have Jesse Wise of GEOO, which is a travel organization, is also supposed to be presenting, and a couple other people that I'm waiting for confirmation. So stay tuned for more information about our keynotes, and there'll be some other featured speakers as well. So going into Q&A, these are the couple questions I got from friends. What's the distinction between benefactor levels? It's probably better that I go into this in a one-on-one meeting with you. But one of the examples, one of the features in the gold level is you can send an email to. We'll send an email on your behalf to the whole conference community. There is no tracking in Hopin for the emails about who opens it and how many people open it. It's possible that you could put a tag or something in the body of your email that would give you some more information along those lines, but there's no open and close rates. If we sent the email through, we have a MailChimp list too, that would give us some data on people opening and reading emails. For our AI conference recently, I know that we had for one of our emails, we had a 42% rate of open, and anywhere between, I'd say the other ones are probably between 30 and 40% in general. It depends on the topic. So I'm sorry I can't give you more details on that. And again, benefactors are going to be, we're very flexible in terms of when we can get you the time slot that you want if you are a supporter of the conference. But it's the earlier you do it, the better. And so that we can guarantee and get you where you want to be placed. And then another friend of the conference asked, what does it mean to be figured prominently if you're a sponsor? What's the difference in booth sizes for virtual booths? The sizes are basically there's like kind of like a cover image for each booth, and small ones the small booths will appear as a small logo. The medium ones are a little bit larger, and then the large ones are large. So it just is a matter of prominence in terms of that on the expo page of the conference. For our partners in general, we try to be as responsive as we can. In addition to having your logo and link in the expo and on our registration page and on our homepage for the conference event page, we also tend to have a list in Twitter. We try to retweet you. We try to be attentive to what's going on in your organization and post, repost things on your behalf. So basically, you also, there's going to be a partner stage that's dedicated to partner sessions. So there'll be some elevation of our partners slash benefactors in that regard as well. So those are the questions that I have right now. I'm wondering if I'm going to take the slides away for a second so you can see me. And I'm wondering if there are any questions in the audience. I see that we've got Connie from Texas here, and we've got Brittany from Los Angeles, and you can't hear. I wonder why. Brittany, did you get your audio working? Has everybody been able to hear me? I'm getting a little worried here. I've been babbling for an hour without people being able to hear me. Huh. Okay. Well, I hope you've been able to hear me. I hope you've been able to turn up the volume and hear things. My mic should be working. Any other questions for you? I see Orange is here. Julia's here from the Institute for Humane Education in Maine. Connie's here. Ekaterina is here from Turkey. It's so exciting to see you all here and have you come back. And I see Teens Dream Collab is here. Yay. Okay. And Tiffany's here. Yay. Anybody have any questions? And Shannon, thank you from coming. You were at our AI event as well, which was really exciting. Is there anything I can answer for anybody before we sign off for today? I want to make sure that everybody has the right information and knows what to do and what we're all about. The most important thing I think is that this is really a group effort. It takes a lot of people to put this event on. And for me professionally, this has been one of the most satisfying things I've ever done. I've met people from all over the world and actually met some people in person through this conference. There was a young man named Alan who used to volunteer at the conference from Croatia, I believe. And he came to Chicago for a conference a number of years ago, and we had dinner and he met my kids. So you never know. The world is a lot smaller than we think sometimes. And I really believe that in light of the pandemic that we have to keep this work going. We have to build relationships. We have to build opportunities for students to collaborate because, the problems that we're facing are global. They're not just national. And we have to work across borders in order for those to be tackled. And we have to show students how that's done. Here in the United States, I'll get on my little soapbox about this. I feel like global is not a huge priority right now. In other parts of the world, they've been doing this longer. If you recall our conference last year, our friends at the Global Education Conference, or Global Education Network of Europe, have come out with a declaration of global education that I think is pretty profound. And they've been doing this for a long time. That's been built on global citizenship work in Europe for years. And the other realization I've had too is recently I was traveling in Canada with my husband after dropping my son off at college in Vermont. And I felt like in Quebec, particularly, there was a lot more emphasis on sustainable eating and living in general. There was much more of an emphasis on farm to table kind of dining. And it just felt like they're further along in the discussions for educating the public about climate change and that sort of thing. And so here in the U.S., I think that discussion, I think the climate change work is starting to come to prominence. If you've noticed in New Jersey, they now have adopted climate change education as part of their curriculum standards, and that is growing. That movement is growing. There are organizations like Teach SDGs and others that have been doing this work for a while, and it's starting to kind of take hold. But I think we're behind. I think other countries have been doing this work for a long time. How long are presentations? Great questions. Thank you, Anna. Hello from New York, too. I was just in New York before I was in Canada. Presentations can either be 20 minutes, like a short thing, that's totally fine, or 50 minutes. And we have a 10-minute buffer in between time slots in case things go over or people need a break and that sort of thing. So sessions can be 20 minutes or 50 minutes. If you want to, do something after your session, be aware that there is and I can show you guys if you want to see how this works. There is a video conferencing meeting tool that's available to paid registrants in the platform. So if you want to have a meeting, you can with other individuals. I don't know what the limit is. We also are going to have the ability where you can create your own session too. And I have to play with that a little bit. So if you want to do something longer or after your scheduled session, you're more than welcome to do that. We want some spontaneity this year, I guess. Is it necessary to speak English to volunteer at the event? No. No. Yeah, we need Spanish translators. We need people who speak Spanish to help with the Spanish track. So Christina Velquez is going to be organizing that, spearheading that, and she'll be coordinating and will work with people who are Spanish speaking who want to volunteer. So just sign up as a volunteer. We'll get information to you in Spanish at some point and work that out. But no, you do not need to be an English speaker to be a volunteer at all. And we really do it's always helpful to have Spanish speakers as volunteers, particularly in our previous version in the Global Education Conference before this, we really counted on volunteers who could speak Spanish. So please sign up and we'll put you in touch with Christina. What other things can I mention to you? If you're not, let me show you a couple things. I'm going to share my desktop, and this might be a little messy. And I'm going to show you what it looks like from the conference perspective, if I can do that. So I'm going to log in. You should be able to see my desktop right now. I'm going to log in to hop in. Actually, I already am in here, so we're good. This is what it looks like on the back end for me. But when you register, this is the registration page, and you can scroll down and see the keynotes that have been announced and other important information. We will have the schedule up here probably towards October. We'll make it public so you can see what sessions are coming. To register, you can click here, and it will give you the various details. It's not showing for me right now because I've already registered. It will give you the different options for tickets. Once you have registered, I don't know if it will give you this screen or not, but this is what the conference will look like. It will, I'm going to preview the event for you so you can see what it looks like. There's this main reception page, which has information and the schedule on it. And you can see that I've started putting people into the schedule. And this will be public before the conference, probably a couple weeks before. And on the left-hand side, you'll see where our stages will be. You'll see our sessions. And you can see that I've started to put those in a little bit. There is a networking tool called Speed Networking. And then our expo will be where our benefactors have their booths. There also is a section called Replay, which is where the recordings will go. And then I'm going to go back up to the reception area. On the right-hand side, there is a chat for the whole conference. There's polls. There's a list of people. People can ask questions and have them answered in this tab. And then you'll see our Twitter feed. There's also uh, the other thing that's important to know is that you have a profile when you register, and you can put your information in here, what things that you're interested in and that sort of thing, and put your biographical information in there so people can learn about you. It's helpful for networking purposes to do that. So that's what it looks like on the back end. Um, for presenters, you don't have to do anything to record. Your rooms record automatically. We have to publish the recordings afterwards. But in general, it's a really smooth process. We are not going to down. Last year, I downloaded everybody's videos for them and sent them to them. It was incredibly tedious and time consuming. So we've modified that this year. Um, and you know, it's we're excited. Anyway, it's a lot of work. Um, so that's what it looks like from the back end of everything. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if there are any more questions before we wrap up. Okay. Um, Julie mentioned, I really appreciate the info, and I think the conference is really good. Oh, thank you. Great. That's awesome. It would be good to record navigation review for conference attendees. Yes, there is, Connie, there was a kind of a tutorial last year um, in how to get into the conference. One thing that was tricky for people is when you go into a session room, you have to click on a red kind of button to enable your audio and video, and people didn't see that, and then they couldn't understand why they couldn't hear or speak or and things like that. So there are a couple of things that we learned last year that we will educate the conference community about as we go forward. And I'm trying to think what other things. If we did have any technical issues, it was usually audio related, and if people left a session and then came back in, they were fine. So that's one thing. Yes, there will be a social media toolkit for partners and for anyone who wants to use it. Great question, Tiffany. We'll use Canva for graphics, and we'll have some that are customizable so that you can tweak them as you see fit. I think it makes it a lot easier if we have that kind of toolkit because uh, you can cut and paste a tweet or put it into threads now or whatever social media platform is your thing. I also would love to see presenters get creative. Maybe I'm not a TikToker, but I know I should be. What if, people created a TikTok to promote their session and tagged the conference or something like that? I think that would be kind of fun. I would love to see people get creative with how they're managing their social media as well. But we'll definitely provide a toolkit in the next month, probably sooner than later, that will give you that information. For right now, my suggestion would be, I'll get that done soon. I'm thinking out loud here a little bit. This flyer might be like the easiest thing to share right now so that people have kind of the basic information that they need. Everything's kind of one-stop shopping in that flyer. And you can share that for the time being, but I'll be in touch soon with more assets. What else can I say? I hope that I think there's certain parts of the world. Somebody was in another project that I'm working on. Somebody was asking about reaching European teachers, and historically, in our conference, it's been hard to get a lot of participation from Europe, and I don't know why particularly. And I'm kind of curious, like about some of those regional differences or ways that we can partner with organizations that will help us get the word out. It could be language, it could be, time zone kinds of things. Who knows? But I would love to kind of dig into that. And we've had a standing kind of advisory board that I have not tapped into recently. And that's another goal of mine in the coming weeks is to revive that advisory board and ask them to ask them to be ambassadors for this event and get the word out in their corners of the world. So if you're interested in being part of that, I will also send out, if you're on our mailing list, you'll hear about it. If you're in part of our community, you'll hear about it. I will also send out a reminder about that group when we get it going again. And we'd love to have people be part of that if they have the time and inclination. And we'd also love to hear from you about ideas for connecting with other groups around the world, suggestions for speakers and that sort of thing also too are appreciated. Our keynotes are pretty much set. We have one time slot that I'm working on right now. In previous years, a long time ago with the Global Ed Conference, we had a friend of the conference tell us that our keynotes were not diverse enough. And so that's something that's been on my mind ever since. And this year, I think we're a little US centric in our keynotes, but I'm hoping that we'll have some featured speakers that will kind of balance that out. I'm always thinking about geographical diversity as well as a diversity of speakers that represent anywhere from students to university people. So it's a kind of a tricky balance, and often the people that I get to speak at this are personal friends. So who I've worked with and who I know their work and that sort of thing. One more keynote that we have not announced that we're starting to work on, and I want to put a plug in for them, is the Charter for Compassion. They spoke last year. The executive director is my student teaching supervisor from when I was a baby teacher. Her name is Marilyn Turkovich, and she did run this program called the Associated Colleges of the Midwest Urban Education Program. And that's what I did my student teaching in a long time ago. And Marilyn now runs this Charter for Compassion, which I think is a pretty phenomenal organization. And they do a lot of free work, free programming or low-cost programming across many sectors, not just education. There's a Compassionate Schools Network. There's a program where they have compassionate cities. There's a number of different things. And this is all based on a religious scholar named Karen Armstrong's TED Prize wish from about 15 years ago. Her wish was to have this organization started. And Marilyn invited me to a banquet in Chicago in August for the Parliament for World Religions that was being held here in Chicago, where I live. And the banquet was for the charter, partners of the charter, and they recognized certain people for their work. And one was, if you're familiar with the massacre that happened at Sandy Hook School in Connecticut a number of years ago, one of them was the mother of one of the children that was killed, who started a nonprofit in her son's name, and she was amazing. Another awardee was the mayor of San Antonio, Texas. And San Antonio, Texas is a compassionate city, and they do specific things to welcome immigrants to their city because they're close to the border with Mexico. And the person that gave him that award was a previous recipient who was the mayor of Louisville, Kentucky. And these cities have chosen to be compassionate and empathetic places where people are welcomed. And it was just extraordinary to me. So it's a long story here, but I asked Marilyn to put together our closing keynote panel. We've kind of in the last couple of years have ended with a panel discussion. And I'm hoping that she's going to bring some of the people who've won recognition from the charter to that event so that we can hear from them. It's what we need in this world right now. Is more compassion, more empathy, more action towards peace and justice. So with that, I think unless people have more questions, I'm going to end. If you want to reach me, The easiest way to reach me is Lucy at Lucy Gray Consulting. And I'm happy to answer any other questions or meet with you to talk about this. And if you, if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. And we look forward to seeing you online November 13th and 14th, and wherever you are in the world. And it will be another extraordinary event. Please, 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 please get in touch if you have any more questions. Thanks a lot for listening.